We were the first news organization to witness a newly established food distribution center that's operated mostly by former American Special Forces. They work in cooperation with the IDF, the Israeli Army. This group, GHF, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, was established to circumvent Hamas and, in effect, the United Nations as well. They've established 4 distribution sites inside of Gaza. Now, they are not without their problems, and they are not without controversy. But we were embedded with Americans working for GHF. They were our escorts. We went where they took us today. They took us to a station called Number 3. It's in the far southern part of Gaza, right along the Egyptian border, on the outskirts of a town called Rafah. That town has been reduced to rubble. There is very little, if anything, that stands in Rafah today. We drove for 5 miles. Nothing is left. In a conversation earlier today with the Israeli government, they told me at one point that was where Hamas had their headquarters, and that's where the Israelis believe the hostages were being held. No longer. They've all been cleared out, including every home that stood there. When you enter the distribution site, the pallets of food have been laid out in a gravel lot ahead of time. This was done hours before we had arrived there at sunrise. Now, the IDF has several snipers and cranes overhead, and the IDF fires numerous warning shots that are clearly audible. GHF tells us that is for crowd control on the ground. On the other side of a man-made berm, it's stacked rather high. From the ground we cannot see on the other side, but several thousand people are waiting there, waiting for a red flag to change to green. And off they run towards you in a flat-out sprint. The men get there first, mostly young men, I would say anywhere between the age of 12 and 16, and they continue to come. Now again, we went today where we were taken, but we were allowed to observe and record and catalog anything we saw. But they did make one request. They asked us to blur the faces of the Gazans who work for them for fear of Hamas retribution. They say that has been the case for several living inside Gaza. We spoke to several Palestinians. Almost to a person, they said they were hungry. They were trying to feed their families. They were all tired of war, and they did not want Hamas involved. This morning, we only saw a small part of this war, a small part of Gaza, a small part of this story. And one day does not make the entire story for this ongoing war here in the Middle East. There are a lot of things to be learned. We asked several questions about civilians being killed en route to aid sites. And the GHF tells us this has not happened within their location. We want to know who's paying for it. We want to know how much more money they will receive. Those answers did not come today. Perhaps they come another day. But to a person today, the Americans with GHF say they are very proud of the work they have done and continue to do. And if they get the green light, they want to expand their operations within Gaza and try and feed as many people as they possibly can. Dana?
Bill, I'm curious if you have an understanding of what Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu thinks it would take for Hamas to finally release the hostages and put an end to this.
Yeah, 2 things that haven't happened. The hostages have not come home. The bodies have not been returned for those who are deceased, and Hamas is still in a fighting mood. We may get a firm answer on that this Thursday. We'll be here all week in Israel, and on Thursday afternoon, Israeli time, we'll sit down with the Prime Minister and put that question to him, among many others. Dana?
All right, Bill, amazing, incredible work there, and I'm sure we'll see you throughout the show and the rest of Fox News. Grateful to have you there.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
All right, now let's bring in Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst. He is on the ground as well in Israel for us this morning. Trey, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Jillian, good morning. Bill is spot on. There are a number of questions to be answered about an incredibly complex humanitarian situation inside Gaza. But we do know today Israeli officials announced that limited commercial goods would be allowed into the enclave. This was a request from the United Nations, that group telling Fox News earlier in the week that such a move would alleviate pressure not only on the UN, but also on GHF to allow for more goods to be in markets across Gaza and allow for people who need the humanitarian aid to get to it first. All of this coming in parallel to reports overnight that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu briefed local media indicating that the Israeli military will completely occupy the Gaza Strip. Now, if this happens, it would be a massive shift in policy and a major expansion of ground operations inside Gaza. And as Bill mentioned, the big concern here is the hostages. 50 of them remain in Hamas captivity. Around 20 are believed to be alive. And we're already hearing from family members about those reports overnight. They're expressing opposition to this plan, understanding that such a move could endanger their loved ones. Jillian, Dana.
All right, Trey Yingst on the ground there for us. Thank you.
And former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is here. He's also a Fox News contributor. You've listened to Bill Hemmer's reporting, Trey Yingst reporting. And from a macro overall standpoint, when the United States says that it wants to have a role here, what do you think President Trump's next move are in order to help end the suffering, but also get the hostages back?
Well, Dan, I think it's really important to both listen to Bill's reporting, which is pretty remarkable, and I'm sure will continue to be, but second, to remember how this all began. It's easy to think about what's happening in Gaza today and see the folks there that are trying to figure out how to feed their families and forget that the folks who caused this problem are the terrorists, the Iranians, the Hamas massacre actors from now, goodness, almost 2 years ago. And so we have to remember this is still an active conflict, and Israel's doing what no nation is often asked to do, is that's to feed the people that are sitting inside the enemy's territory. So I think Prime Minister Netanyahu is trying to figure out, like, if I take control, is that how I maximize the chance of getting the hostages home? I think that is his highest priority. You add that to Israeli security, and I suspect he will determine that he has to move more aggressively, expand the operation so that they can actually get those folks home, and then they can actually build out a model which will feed these people in Gaza without Hamas being rearmed and refunded. That's the risk. If the UN has handed back the humanitarian mission, they will continue to work with Hamas, and Hamas will get some of the money and some of the food. And the risk that we'll be right back where we were on October 6th remains.
Secretary Pompeo, it seems unimaginable where I sit here in Washington looking at the footage that our crews have gotten on the ground inside Gaza at these distribution sites in Rafah, where Bill just reported a moment ago, the decimation is pretty much at 100%. That inconceivable that Hamas, after overseeing this, could have any kind of a political future among Palestinians. Now 500,000 of them are kind of hovering on the brink. They're getting close to a state of famine. Do you see a path forward with Israeli legitimate political leadership in the Strip?
Goodness, it is hard to imagine how any Gazan could see Hamas as their ally, but the propaganda that's been foisted on them for decades, and the situation, if you look at Judea and Samaria, if you look at the West Bank, Mahmoud Abbas, Abu Mazen, has been terrorizing his own citizens for decades, and yet he continues to remain in power. And Hamas has not yet relinquished that power. They still have weapons, they still have capabilities, they are still holding hostages their own people in addition to Israelis. We should not underestimate Hamas's continued influence in the region and the need for Israel and the United States to completely eliminate their political capacity.
Can I ask then Bill Hemmer or Trey Yingst, I want to ask you one more question, because earlier this week, Hamas took it upon themselves to release a video of a starving hostage being made to dig his own grave. So what sort of leverage do they think they have if they don't necessarily have the people's support, as Bill, you just reported? The people you spoke to today say they don't want them there, and yet they are taunting the Israeli government, Jews all around the world, and the people who support them.
It's a remarkable story, Dana. One should be mentioned yet again. And many Western news organizations don't even show the pictures that Hamas puts out because they view it as exactly that, propaganda for their own cause. We have the good fortune of having Trey Yingst with us now because Trey spoke with that man's brother just this past weekend. And Trey, what did he tell you about how the family's trying to hold on?
Yeah, Bill, Dana, Jillian, we spoke with Eviatar David's brother here in Tel Aviv, and we asked him what this experience has been like for him, waiting nearly 700 days for his brother to come home. And he told me he couldn't bring himself to watch that hostage video that Hamas released, showing his brother digging his own grave in the tunnels beneath Gaza, looking into the camera, looking so frail like he was about to collapse because Hamas has kept food and medicine from him. And while Hamas tried to put pressure on the negotiation by releasing this video, it actually strengthened the Israeli position to bring the hostages home, to unify this country, and to ensure that people like Eviatar can be reunited with their loved ones. And so we spoke with his brother, and he pleaded with the American administration, with President Trump, and with Israeli officials to find a solution to bring his brother home, along with the other 19 living hostages and the bodies of 30 others.
Well, it is such a complex issue. Complicated is not even an adjective that can describe it. And we're grateful to you, Bill Hemmer, Trey Yingst, and Mike Pompeo for helping us talk it through this morning, and more reporting to come from Bill and Trey, and Bill's interview with Prime Minister Netanyahu coming this Thursday. Thank you all.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.